Before you get settled, consider having some water nearby so you could take little sips periodically. We're going to do a breathing practice that might make your nose a little runny. So you might want to have some tissues or a handkerchief or whatever you like to use handy for that. Definitely will need either, well, I shouldn't say definitely because it depends on your flexibility, either a yoga strap, or I was going to bring one of my husband's ties. A man's tie will do just as well to help support you. If you have yoga props, a couple of blocks, a couple of blankets, but you can also have soft cover books. This looks like a hardcover, but it's one of those big, I feel we should, I always use these expanse books. I think, see, we should get like, yeah, I don't know, but they're getting free advertising like they need it, right? So like a book like this can be helpful for a number of things. Like 2 of them could serve as blocks when I'm using blocks. So just get some stuff. Uh-oh, my nose is getting ready already. And then come to a place where you could be comfortable, okay? So you could lie down for about 2 minutes if you like as we start, but we are going to end up sitting because the breathing, the pranayama, which is a word for breath practices, that needs to be done seated. So just make sure you're comfortable, gather your stuff, get your dog and your cat. Unfortunately, my cat's being stubborn again. He comes in when I'm practicing, but I know he's nice to have on the video because he's so pretty. So just get yourself comfortable, either sitting at home. For this, you could be leaning on a wall or piece of furniture, lie down on your couch, and just take a few moments to gather your awareness and then bring that awareness to your body and try and be a little objective. So just notice where you might be holding tension without judging yourself or blaming yourself. Notice where you might feel especially good or relaxed. Notice whatever you notice about your body and let that inform you during your practice. Also, take a few moments of quiet to notice your breath without talking, obviously. So I'm not going to notice my breath. So you would just breathe quietly and notice if the inhale is equal to the exhale, or the inhale is more dominant, or the exhale is more dominant. When we're doing a relaxing evening practice, we may want to get maybe a little more length to our exhales, but we're not trying to force anything. We're just trying for now, just to notice what we got to work with, right? And take another breath or 2 here. If you're lying down, you can use the floor to give you a sense of where your back might be letting go, where it might be lifted and tight. If you're sitting, you might notice that, wow, it's really hard for me to sit. I want to lie down. That's part of noticing your body. Take 2 more breaths here. Noticing body and breath. And then when you're ready, those of you who are lying down, come to sitting for alternate nostril breath. And I picked this one because we're having a really bad allergy season here in New York, and a lot of people are kind of miserable, and this could be a helpful tool to use to balance. Well, it's a tool that does a lot of things, but it can help balance out some of that sinus congestion. So you do need to be sitting up. You could be leaning on something, reclining, but you don't want to be lying down for this. And you're going to be using, if you're left, I use my right hand, but if you're left hand, just switch the instructions. You use one hand for this, and you need your thumb, your pinky, and your ring finger. I don't know if that's clear. So you bring your middle finger and your pointer finger into your palm. And then the thumb is going to close one nostril when we're up to that point, and the other 2 fingers are going to work together to close the other one. You're going to keep your hand very close to your nose. If you haven't done this before, you can press one nostril with the thumb. If you're doing with the left hand, it'll be your left nostril. Right hand, it'll be your right nostril. So just get a sense of what that mechanics of that are like. If you wear glasses, you might bump into them, so you might want to take your glasses off. So sit comfortably. You don't have to sit cross-legged. And if you do, anytime you want to change your seat, do that. Take a few natural breaths. Nice and easy, in and out. Then gently seal off your right nostril and breathe in through your left nostril. Exhale, close your left nostril so both nostrils are closed. Then release your right nostril. Exhale all the breath through the right side. When the breath has left you, through that same side, inhale the breath. Close the nostril. Exhale, release on the other side. So the secret to this practice is that after you exhale, you inhale through the same side. So after you inhale, your nostrils for a moment or more are both closed, and you switch when it's time to exhale again. So now I'm exhaling on one side. I'm going to inhale through that side I just exhaled from. And then I'm going to close, and then I'm going to release. So I'm going to keep going through the motions of this myself. And I want to point out a few things. When, after you've inhaled and the nostril is closed, you could pause there and hold the breath quietly, only if it's not agitating before you release. So you could insert that hold. Another piece that you could do is you could notice how long your inhale is. And let's say you're inhaling for 4. If you're inhaling for 4, you want to exhale for at least 4. So keep going. I might stop sometimes because I can't really talk very clearly when my nostrils are pinched. And the idea throughout the day, from what I've read, we are alternating nostrils. We're not necessarily breathing through both nostrils normally, but sometimes if one side is habitually clogged, you're going to be breathing more through your more efficient side. So this helps to clear a little bit of the nasal congestion. So even during the day, when you're not doing a breathing practice, you might get a little better breathing situation because your weaker breathing side may be a little more open. So do a few more. Remember, when you exhale, you inhale through that same side, wherever you are in the pathway, if you get lost. Exhale all the breath. Oh, I think I said that backwards. When you exhale, you inhale through the same side, and then you switch to exhale on the opposite side. And if you want to introduce the hold, you could do that. Exhale, inhale through one side, and then switch. Exhale on the other side. When we began by breathing in through the left nostril. You may not have done that, but if you did, the next time you exhale from your left nostril, release the pose, release your nose, and just notice if your nose feels that you might want to blow it out a little bit. Now, when we do this practice to get a meaningful benefit, you're supposed to do it for at least 5 minutes. And even though I wasn't timing it, I don't think that was 5 minutes. And sometimes people get lost and stop. So if you ever want to do this on your own, you can Google, you can find instructions for pranayama on my website, yogabright.com. And I'm sure on YouTube, there's lots of yogis who are doing a video of it, and try it for 5 minutes. So we've been sitting for a long time. So let's come to hands and knees. We'll come back to sitting for a few things. So as you kneel on your mat, if you need padding under your knees, you could use a towel or a blanket for that. We're going to start with some cat-cowing. And if cat-cow is in your practice, you're going to start right away with that. But just a reminder, I do this every time because it could be different people observing the video. The cat-cow is this very familiar undulation Inhaling, gentle arch of the spine, and exhale like a cat. So it's called the cat, rounding the spine very, very deeply and bringing the forehead to the pubic bone. It is a pretty popular yoga move, and probably everyone has done it. But if you're working with osteoporosis or osteopenia, you don't want to do that deep flexion of the spine, which is that big rounding. In that case, you would come on your fingertips or elevate your hands on two same-sized books or blocks. Instead of rounding into a cat, you're going to slide your butt backward. You can see my spine is not really rounded here, but you're going to keep your low back lifted. If you're having low back or back of the hip pain, if you're doing this version, I know that applies to one of you, you want to kind of puff up your low back as you come back. And you're not coming as far back as you can, and you're not dropping down. And then you come back to the back bend. So keep going a few more times, either the traditional cat-cow or sometimes the other version's called Chakravakasana. The elevating the hands also helps to resist the rounding of the upper back, which we want to avoid in those osteoporosis or osteopenia scenarios. Good. The next time you're doing your cat, if you're doing the rounded back cat, come to neutral spine and slide your hips back to your heels. Take your knees a little wider and come to child's pose. So here you could use your book, and you could place a towel on top of it, low budget propping here, and plop your head right down if that suits you. And anytime in the practice you'd like to come to child's pose, you could use a prop under your head if you like. Take a few breaths here. Also, one potato, two potato fists also work. You might need a blanket in between your thighs and the backs of your thighs and your shins. That's a good way to be more comfortable in this pose if it's not naturally comfortable for you. And then walk your way back to table. So the downside of child's pose is it really closes down those knee creases. So let's open those up. Tuck the toes of your right foot under. Get a really good tuck so we can get a nice stretch in the sole of the foot. So don't cheat yourself out of that. And then stretch your leg straight back. Try and think that your leg is in line with your hip so it's not coming out to the side. And push through your heel and draw your heart forward. Place the knee down. Make sure your knees are roughly in line, roughly shoulder distance apart. Tuck the toes of the left foot under. You can kind of pump that foot back, like rev that up, and then send that leg back. Make sure you're even from hip to hip. Keep the head lifted. Don't let it sag. You could tip it up a little bit or just keep it neutral, and then you'll get a nice stretch in the back of the neck. And let's come back to the first side again. Tuck the toes of the right foot, stretch the leg back. So you could stay right here for a few breaths. If you'd like to add some more pieces of challenge, if it's appropriate for you, you can reach the opposite arm forward. So you're stretching left arm, right leg, and you might be sort of getting a diagonal stretch from the left shoulder to the right hip. That's one way to jazz it up. And then you can do that on the second side. And then another possibility is when you take the leg out, you can float it up to like a table with a half split. So the heel is pressing away from you and the inner thigh is buoyant. And you could also do the balance challenge here, which is much more challenging than doing it. As you can see, I'm all teetering here. And one thing that helps keep you balanced is not to turn to look at the camera. And you can do that on both sides. So play around with this. You can also just lift the leg without the balance. Keep your belly condensing with each exhale. So even though it may look simple, this does help strengthen the core reflex. And do that a few more times if you wish, or maybe you would like to stretch out in down dog. This is an evening practice and it's a quiet practice. So I stay away from a lot of this more vigorous poses. But down dogs can be very relaxing if for some of us. So you can also tuck your toes. And as you exhale, lift up and back. And you could play with your down dog now or anytime. For example, you could turn your toes in slightly and your heels out. So you're a little pigeon-toed. And then see how that affects the stretch in the backs or sides of your legs. Make sure your low back is not collapsing. So we don't want to be like this. Hopefully you can see the difference between where my back is now and then this. You want to keep the spine nice and long. Another way you could play around with the feet is just to take them really wide or bring them a little closer to your hands. And then you might notice when you bring the heels closer, it's not your usual down dog, but you might have the heels dropping down. You might get more of a stretch in the back of your legs. Dogs like to play, right? And since we were using our wrists a lot, and you're probably using them during the day, let's do something nice for our wrists. So one more time, come back to table, pick up your right hand, spin your hand to your right. So the fingers are pointing to the right, spin it so the fingertips are pointing to your leg, and then bring your right hand very close to your right knee. So the hands are far apart. And then to get the stretch, which is going to be on the underside of the arm, you start inching your arm, your hand, that is, forward. The most forward you want to go is lining up your right wrist, which is the backwards one here, with your left. It doesn't always feel comfortable to come this far. So basically you're looking for a satisfying stretch on the underside of your arm. And if you're pretty flexible and you're not getting much of a sensation when your right wrist is lined up with your left, you can shift your hips back. Oh my goodness, some people can bring their hips all the way back. And that will add to the stretch here. And I can't always do this. A lot of times this is just too much. When you're done, you're going to peel the hand up from the wrist, the center of the hand, the fingers, and just circle that wrist around. Second side, left hand lifts, fraction. Spin the hand so the fingers are looking toward the left. Spin the hand again so the fingers are looking to the wall behind you. And hopefully you can see that. You're going to bring your hand close to your left knee and start there. You might be getting a great stretch here in your form, and you don't need to do anything else. Otherwise, start moving the hand forward, pausing each time so you don't go to anything that is painful. And when you find the satisfying stretch, just enjoy it. Breathe into it. Wrists and forearms can get super tight. And then when you're ready to release, as if your hand was stuck in some sticky paper, peel it up really slowly, and then circle the wrist around. And then come to sitting. Any comfortable seat will do. You do not have to sit cross-legged. And you may want to have a blanket or towel or several blankets or towels under your bum, not necessarily to cushion your bum. That's not really a problem so much, but you want to sit tall, and having padding and being lifted up can help you with that. Feel free to take your legs out like this, whatever feels right for you. But what definitely all want to do, no matter how your seat, how you're shaped, is you want to find relationship between your armpits. You can tuck your thumbs in there like you were showing off, right? And you can lift up and then relax the shoulders down, but keep the lift you created in the collarbones. And then drop your hands down to your lap with the palms up. So you want to think shoulders line up with hips, not in front, not to one side, and earlobes line up with the tops of your shoulders, because we're very forward, gotta do stuff people, especially here in New York. So we don't want to be all forward like this. So you want to just find that alignment and just breathe there for a moment. Make sure you could feel anchors of your sitting bones down on both sides. We're going to take a twist. We're going to start with a twist to your right. So you can set your arms up first, your right arm behind you, and your left arm crossed over to the right leg. Or if you want a little more, I don't know, do something a little different. Usually we set the arms up first, but you can use a little more core action and lift the arms up, and then above your abdominal core area in your upper chest area, you're going to take the twist without the support of the arms and then add the arms. So you can do arms first or arms second, and turn your head gently into the twist. The advantage about not setting up the arms first is it helps ensure that we're twisting from our spine. So we're finding the twist that is suitable for us. We're not pulling ourselves into the twist. That's okay if you're doing a class where there's several twists and maybe it's a really fast-paced class and you're warming up. But if you're just doing your first twist, you don't want to force it. Make sure that the side you're twisting away from, so it would be your left, that leg is relaxed. Our opposite leg tends to tense up. Take one more breath here. When you come out of the twist, you could raise your arms up again if you wish, unwind your spine and pause, and then second side. So now we're twisting to the left, so you could bring that same side arm behind you, the opposite arm across, but you'll see that when you do that, just placing the arms tends to bring you into the twist. Or you could energize your arms up. They can also be on your hips. Inhale, exhale, firm your belly in a little bit, twist your shoulders, and then lower your hands. Make sure the arm that is behind you, the fingertips are down and comfortable, and make sure you're not pulling, leaning, or straining. Find your sitting bones. You're twisting to the left. Make sure your right leg is relaxed. You might be tempted to look at it, but just allow it to be soft. Bring your awareness to your upper chest and breathe into the front of your chest. Notice if you join me with alternate nostril breath, if your breathing passages seem a little clearer. I did it twice because I did it before the class, so mine definitely seemed a little clearer. Bring your awareness to your back. Breathe into your back lungs. Yummy, yummy. Slowly unwind your twist, arms low or arms high. Change your leg position, even if it's just crossing them a different way or sitting in a completely different way. One way that could be nice to sit, but for some people, some of us, and for me, it used to be torture. We don't want you to torture yourself, is sitting on your shins. And to make this more agreeable, taking padding in between your shins and your legs and putting it up toward your knees can be useful. So if this is uncomfortable, don't do it. Sit in any way you like, but it's good to change your seat up a little bit. And we did a little stretch for our forearms, and we're going to do a little more here. Interlace your fingers and push your arms forward. Make sure you're not rounding your spine. So you want to keep your upper back nice and broad. And then moving at your own pace, start lifting your clasped hands and your arms up a little bit, exploring the sensations. If it's, again, painful, if you hear a lot of cracking in your shoulders, you're going to lower down a little bit. So you can bring them all the way up if that works for you, or you could be down here where you started. Just find what works for you and take a cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. Then reaching your arms long as straight as you can, bring them back about halfway, flip the palms. You probably all know this one. Notice which pinky is on the bottom and the opposite thumb is usually on top, and then switch them. So you're going to come to your less dominant side, probably. It's going to feel weird. The second side usually feels a little weird. And then flip, press your palms forward. Try not to let the thumbs, if you have short thumbs like mine, they just want to hang out. So try and keep them knitting together. And same as before, start lifting the arms up in increment. And by the way, if you're sitting on your shins, the special guest star might be coming in. If you're sitting on your shins, you may want to change your seat. Hey, buddy, come over here. If he doesn't come over here after he walks into me, I'm going to be very annoyed. Reach your arms away from your heart, whether they're up or diagonal or down. Take a breath here. And then slowly lower your arms. Here. Here. Here you go. Take time to pet the cat. There you go. He's probably going to scratch the mat, which he knows annoys me, but he is cute. Now we're going to do something a little different. Place the backs of your hands together. You can do this with your paws, backs of your hands together. Sometimes he does check. 1, 2, 3. So we're doing yoga trick. Interlace the backs of your hands, and you'll be kind of pressing your knuckles, and look down at your knuckles. Ideally, you want to see little pits in between each of your knuckles, and just make sure this is comfortable. Good. Oh, this is nice. And then you can reach the arms up here if you like. Because this brings the elbows close together, I take my elbows a little wide here. And you can also bend your elbows, make sure this doesn't irritate your neck, and take your knuckles behind you. Take a breath here, or take a bath. And then when you're ready, stretch the arms up and release your arms. And just make random movements with your arms. If any of you remember that M&M commercial where the woman was sitting and she had all these arms and each one was feeding her an M&M. So you could do your multi-arm M&M lady movement, which can feel very nice. If you're sitting on your shins, you definitely want to come out of that now. And take any prop you use to the side. And just because if you were sitting on your shins like this, excuse me, you definitely want to open up the backs of your legs again. So you could do the leg stretches like this. Oh, I'm sorry. Or you could do downward facing dog. Did I step on your tail? How rude. And now I'm doing a dog pose. That's super duper rude. Good. Take another breath or two here. And then slowly lower down. And let's see, get a hold of your strap or a man's tie. And come to lying down. If you'd like to have a blanket under your head, take a blanket under your head. I'm going to take a few so I can kind of see the camera a little bit and project my voice, but I don't recommend using a lot under your head. The lower your head could be, generally the better. So just have your strap handy and come to lying down. If when you started the class, you started lying down, notice if there's any difference in the way your back body meets the mat. How your practice may have changed something in your back. You can even take your legs out for a moment if this is where you started the practice and see if you notice anything different. And then when you're ready, bend your knee. You don't have to use the strap if you don't need the strap to support your legs, but I'm going to demo it with the strap. So draw your right leg into your chest, interlace your hands either behind the thigh or over the shin, and just let the leg surrender to gravity. You're not doing a lot of pulling, or don't fight with the leg. Just so you know, Albus isn't that offended. He's just in another part of the room looking at the window, seeing something more interesting than me. Let the leg be heavy. Not only is this helping, this actually helps digestion. If this is a forward bend, instead of bringing our chest to our legs or bringing our legs to our chest, this is really nice for the back. Nice stretch there. Might not feel like a stretch, but it might feel very calming. And we're also deeply folding in the hip, which can be nice. If it's not nice, take the leg a little bit away from you. And now take the strap on the sole of your foot, not right in center, sort of in between center and the knuckles, and take the leg out on a diagonal first, like this. So you're just taking it away from you. It could be here. You don't want it low to the ground because that could irritate the back. And try and get your leg as straight as you can. And if you take your leg more to vertical, and if the knee has to bend there, consider for this stretch, keeping it lower, because having the leg straighter might be more efficient for what we're going to do. So to enhance the stretch, let your leg just relax in the strap a little bit if you're using it. And then to get this nice stretch, and not just a stretch of the muscles, but also a stretch of the connective tissue, send the heel away from you and your toes toward you. Inhale here, exhale here, and then inhale, relax a little bit. You can bend the knee. Extend your leg straight again. Notice if one side of the foot is closer to you, even off your foot from right to left. You could sometimes use the strap to kind of coax the side of the foot down. Like let's say your toes are up like this, your pinky toe even off the leg. Inhale as you exhale, send the heel up and the toes toward you. So again, you could be here, 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 or here, but don't bring the leg further past your hip for this particular stretch. It's not really efficient. And then back off a little bit, pause, and then one more time, inhale. As you exhale, straighten the leg without force, press the heel away from you, toes toward you. Now we're going to do something a little different. Same leg, bend the leg a little to the right. So we're not dropping our leg to the right. That's another good thing to do. You're spinning the leg to the right. So instead of the toes looking behind you, they're looking toward your shoulder. Notice now if the stretch you felt in the back of the leg is now on the outside of your leg, which is a nice place to find the stretch. And then relax, turn the leg back to neutral. And then one more time, extend the leg, toes toward you, heel away from you, feel the sensation in the back of the leg, and then externally rotate the leg just a fraction and notice how that affects if you feel more of a tensional pull along the outside of your right leg. Now, keep the leg slightly turned out. Take the strap if you're using one to your left hand, and remember your leg can be lower. And then you're going to drag your externally rotated right leg a little to the left, so the knee is in the midline. And the bent leg foot, the bent leg knee, you're going to tip that. So the knees are kind of going to cross over each other here. And then relax the hand that's on the strap and bend the knee so your right leg just comes over your left. And just pause here. If it's comfortable for you, you could draw this whole clasped leg situation in. You would start by lifting your heel, walking your foot toward you, bringing your legs in, and then you could hold on to your legs, or you could take your hand to your opposite foot. It helps to be flexible and be short. Don't strain, like don't lift up to grab your feet. So you could be here, you could be here, you could be here. This can be a great stretch for the outer hips. And if you could reach your feet, you can massage them while you're doing this. This gets into the glutes a little bit, which is nice. And then when you're ready, you might want to stay here a little bit longer. This is one of those love or hate poses. Unwind your legs, stretch both legs out straight, and notice if you feel any difference between your right leg, which we did a few things with, and the left. Your right leg might feel a little longer. Let's even them up. Bend the knees. Take the strap around your left foot. Extend the left leg out on an angle first, so you can experiment with where you can get a comfortably straight leg, which is more efficient for the stretch. And then you could use the strap, unless if you can get your leg up to vertical, you might not need the strap, but not everyone can get their leg up to vertical here. Now, even off the right and left side of your foot, so you want to have the big toe side, the big toe the same distance away from your nose than the little toe, and then exhale. When you next exhale, push the heel away from you, bring the toes towards you, which is another way of saying flex your ankle. Notice what you feel, the same straight sensation where you feel it. And then back off that a little bit. You can bend the knee, take a full breath. Always feel to breathe in between. Inhale as you exhale. Send the leg out as straight as you can without force. Flex the ankle, toes to you, heel away. And then relax. And then one more time. Leg straight as you can, heel away from you, toes toward your nose. Do that. Well, you could back off a little bit. Now we're going to add the next piece. You're going to turn the leg slightly out. So you're spinning the thigh bone in its socket, just a fraction. And then energize your heel away from you, your toes down, and notice if it's stretched. You might still feel it in the back of your leg, but now you might feel it on the left side of your left leg. And then pause, back off a little bit, inhale, exhale, leg is extended. It can be a little lower. I'll show you some different heights. Heel away from you, toes toward your nose. Take the strap to your left hand if you haven't done so already. So you're going to keep that leg turned out, relax the foot a little bit. And now you're going to take your left leg and bring it toward the right. Make sure the hip doesn't come up. You're going to take your right knee and bring that to the left. So the legs are crossing over the midline here. And now we're gifting both sides of our hips with a stretch. Gently squeeze the inner thighs together, but don't let your hips pop up. And then relax, remove the strap, bend the knee and crisscross. So you can stay here if this is comfortable, or you can pick the feet up and take the pretzel stretch on the other side. Hold on to wherever you can, or don't hold on at all. Just squeeze the inner thighs toward each other and flare your feet away. Spread your toes. You could also do big, if your feet are right there, you can do big toe hold. That's nice. And this is giving you, again, since the lower leg, which here is my left leg, big stretch in the glute and the upper back of that thigh. It can feel delicious. If it doesn't feel delicious, you're doing a little too much. And then when you're ready, unwind your legs. You can hold them up to the ceiling a little bit and flexing point your ankles, and then bring your feet down. I thought we'd finish up with a variation of bridge, a little bit supported. So the way you can support this bridge, and you may have done this in class before, if you have one yoga block, this is a soft foam block, you could use that, but you can also, I was doing this before, get a book, and the book is not as thick as the block, but it's about the same length and the same width. And you can even make it 2 blocks, okay? And then you put something soft on that so you don't mess up your book. Like this is just a folded beach towel. This isn't very high, just so you know. And then when you're ready, you bend your knees, keep your prop close to your butt. Whoops, forgot that was there. And then you press into your feet, lift up, and pull your towel-covered book underneath your sacrum. So the sacrum is a triangular bone, oh, this is nice, in between your 2 hips. You should take your hands underneath you. If you can't find your whole low back, that means you have to push the props a little away from you, right? But if you feel that a lot of your butt is off of this prop, you need to go in the other direction. One way to tell that it's in the right place, again, is to make sure your low back is clear, but you can feel like the top of the back of your ribs. Another way, top of the back of your hip. Excuse me. Another way to tell is if you take one foot up or both feet, when you do that, if you feel the edge of your yoga block or your book digging into you, it's not in the right spot. So it should feel pretty comfortable. You could also just take a couple of folded towels. So just elevating the hips like this is giving us a little bridge. Obviously, many of us, if we were doing bridge, our hips would be higher. So it's up to you how high you want to make this. You can always, if you feel, well, I'm not getting much, you could come out and then maybe add something else under here. But when you feel you're at a good height that's comfortable for you and that you're relaxed, nothing's digging into your low back is hanging out, your hips are nicely elevated, turn your palms up or down and take a few breaths here. So we're going to stay here for a few minutes, but remember, if you want to come out sooner, you can come out sooner. And your exit strategy is, you don't have to do it yet, press into your feet, lift the hips so you're coming to your bridge pose. Take the props out and come place your butt on your mat. I'm going to stay here a few more minutes. And remember, you don't need propping under your head. In fact, when you're doing bridge, unless you need it for comfort, it's better not to have propping underneath your head, because without propping, should I go? No, I'm not going to do it because it could knock my earpiece out. If your head is on the mat, it'll be a little lower than your heart, so you're getting a little inversion quality into the pose as well, which can be really relaxing. Take a few calm breaths here. Your pelvis should feel fully supported and comfortable. Another piece that you can add to this, if you want, is to invert your legs. Start with just one leg. Pick the foot up. Again, you want to make sure whatever foundation you're using is very solid. And then you can lift that leg up. Now, it's going to be comfortable for everyone. You can have one leg up for a few minutes and then place it down and switch. Or you could hover the other foot. And again, if you feel pretty stable, you could take the other leg up. Just make sure you don't take your legs behind you, because that's going to lift your butt. And then you're not going to be on this platter. Think of your hips as a bowl, and the bowl is on like a platter or a table. But if you bring your feet past your hips, your butt's going to lift up, and you're going to be digging the front edge of your block, let's say, right into your hips. And always stay with your legs inverted if it's comfortable. See if you could just find a sweet spot where the legs just stay there. They could be bent, they could be wider than your hips. If it's not comfortable, just bend your knees and bring your feet down. It's nice when you find a spot where they're just kind of there. And this is a great way to literally get off your feet. Take a few more breaths here. If you're comfortable with either your legs elevated, one at a time elevated, or with your feet down. When you're ready to release, press into your feet, lift your hips wide enough to slide out the prop. Place your hips down, and again, stretch your legs out, and notice if you feel a little more calm in your body. You might feel that more of your back has released to the mat. And before we come to Shavasana, let's do one reclining twist and props. So have some blankets handy. You can have the same prop situation you had for bridge, but have something on both sides of you. Take your feet as wide as the outer edges of your mat, let's say. And first, just start tipping your knees a little bit from side to side. Both knees tip right, both knees tip left. And then lower the legs on each time you go, you can lower your legs a little bit more. And then the next time your legs tip over to the right, you could support that outer hip. You could have this, you could make this higher. You don't have to use the support, but it makes it nice and yummy. You could support the back leg too. Take your arms out to the side. Usually when it's a twist, we turn our head away from the twist, but you could also keep your head in neutral. But since we're kind of inviting length, let's say with the knees to the right, we're inviting length in the left side. So you could also turn your head to the right to get a little stretch in the left side of the neck. Again, it's yogi's choice. We're going to stay on each side for maybe a minute or two. Let something go with each exhale. Surrender your body down toward the mat. See if you can release any tension in your back, your hips, your hands. Your shoulders might feel very broad. When you're ready, slowly breathe your knees back up. Pause. We're going to come either right to the second side, or if you prefer, you could just tip the knees back and forth. You might need different heights of propping on your two sides. So now we're going to do the second side, and you're going to take the legs down to the left. And I'm going to take this stuff over on this side so I can show you how to prop the back leg. So the leg that you're twisting toward, it's pretty obvious that you're just going to place the leg against your outer thigh, like above the knee. But the other leg is higher. So this is your back leg. So you might have a lot of space here. And the way to prop this, if you want to just make it more relaxing, bring the prop, rolled up blanket, a cushion, or a block, really like very close to your bum on that side. And again, you can turn your gaze toward your bent knees to stretch the neck like you're stretching the side of your body, or you can turn your head away from your knees as we do in a traditional twist. And we're going to take a few breaths here, maybe here about 2 minutes in this restorative twist. Let go wherever you can. Relax your back. Let your breath roll in and out with ease. Relax your feet. Surrender the weight of your legs. After a few more breaths, bring your nose back to center. Roll over your feet. Bring your knees back to center. Take your feet wide and rest your inner knees against each other. And then from here, best pose of all, Shavasana, deep relaxation. So you could do a traditional Shavasana, lying on your mat, minimal propping, or you can use your props. You could use a blanket to cover you. You can stick something under your legs. I'm just going to show you one example here that I like to do sometimes. Roll up, it's going to be very messy. In Shavasana, again, you definitely might want something under your head here. You might want your eye pillow. So this could be a whole bunch of towels, and you can take that under your legs. It feel nice. If you have some books or blocks, you can even support your whole leg up like so, with propping under your knees and books or blocks under your feet. And I'm going to come into Shavasana for just a minute. Then I'm going to come out, but you're going to stay put, right? Because you want to get a nice Shavasana here. Notice how you feel. You want to take a cleansing breath if you're still holding on to tension. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Close your eyes like soft curtains. Surrender the weight of your head to the earth. Our souls are really heavy. And what's even heavier is all the wisdom that we carry in our skulls. Surrender all of that and let that go. Surrender your shoulders then. And carry a lot of stuff on our shoulders. Imagine all the burdens, real or imaginary, that you carry with you. Allow them to soften and release down. Relax the length of your spine, the expanse of your ribcage, and all that lives within your ribcage, your heart, and your lungs, for example. Relax your arms one at a time from shoulder to fingertips. Relax the bowl of your hips. And in the bowl, the organs and tissues that it holds, surrender the fruit of your bowl. Surrender your legs one at a time. The upper thigh, the knee, the lower leg, and the foot. And the second leg. The thigh, the knee, the lower leg, the foot. Relax your toes. Give yourself a gift of a few more minutes of stillness. Fractions arise. Shoo them away with your breath. And give yourself more time, a little more time to deeply relax, helping to release the tension of the day and also preparing you for a good night's sleep. when you're ready to release. And that doesn't mean that you need to release now. Our class that we're doing here live at the moment has a definite end, but whether you're here in the live class or doing this at another time, the class can continue and you could take a 20-minute Shavasana. Slowly emerge from your cocoon of stillness. Stretch, yawn, sigh, and then when you're ready, bend your knees, place your feet on the floor, ease over to one side and stay on your side for a few breaths. Nothing detracts from the buzz of a nice Shavasana by popping up like a Jack in the Box really quickly, feeling like you have to sit up when everyone else does. So you could stay lying down, or you could come to a comfortable seat of your choice, which will very likely not be sitting on your shins the way I am. That's the most comfortable for me right now. And then, if you like, join your hands together at your heart center and tip your collarbones up a little as if you're lifting your chest and your heart upward to your hand, and bow your head slightly, bringing together your head, your hands, and your heart. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste.